All right, so recently moved, and I found some awesome glass domes that I had from years ago when I used to make these little insect dioramas with real insects. Do that now. I figured I would film it. There are different ways to do it. Most of the time, when you see an insect done in a diorama, or rather not in a diorama, but regularly pinned. Usually they're just kind of flat, pinned like this. Um, I like to do them in more of a natural setting, and that's what I'm going to be doing today. So this is a stag beetle from, I believe, Indonesia. Um, yes, from Indonesia. Cyclommatus metallifer. Let's see if I can get that in frame there. I don't know if I'll be able to focus that close. I do. This guy's awesome. Like he, and I say he. This is a male. Uh, Besides the fact that they've got the crazy long mandibles in the front, which give stag beetles their name, this guy is also like a metallic bronze and green color. Really interesting. When I get the wrapper off and start posing him, it'll be a lot more noticeable exactly how this guy looks. I like to do a more lifelike representation of the bug, so that when you put it under the dome, it looks like it belongs there. Went out to my backyard. I live next to the woods. Picked up some little baby pine cones. So I've got a few of these guys here, and I'm going to be using probably just one of them, and then some rocks, moss, and some other things. So the first step is going to be building the base. First things first, I'm going to take the cover off the dome, like so. And I'm going to go get the supplies. And while I do that, I'm going to go get our little friend here in some hot water so that he can soften up. Now, once you get these guys soaked, you'll see that they're not nearly as fragile once they're have absorbed some water. It's really in that first stage here where they're so dry that they're just going to be super duper fragile. So you got to be very careful. All right, so I'm back. The beetle is in some hot water. So what we want to do here is we want to make sure that we have something that looks natural. And I do have some things to help out with that. Some different rocks. We've got some moss and things like that. And what we're going to do is go through and glue all of this down and make sure that it looks good. This is just my favorite. This might be dyed, I'm not sure. It may just dry this way, but it's a nice green color. It looks good. I have a gray moss, green moss, right? So what I'm going to start doing now is I'm going to go through and first thing first, glue down the pine cone. Now the pine cone is going to be really the centerpiece that the beetle is going to be sitting on. So that needs to be handled first so that we know kind of what we're working around. The other things we're going to add in to make it look like it's more settled into the environment. So this new glue gun, cordless, does not take long to heat up. It's about 15 seconds. Oh yeah, it's already going out there. So you can be pretty sloppy with this, very first bottom part, because really what you're wanting to do is just kind of get it started in there. So you want a pretty big glob of glue, just so you can make sure that that's going to sit where it needs to sit. I'm going to start with some rocks and put those in there. I'm going to move the camera too. I think I can get a better angle. Let's do that. Glue guns can be sloppy. There's really no way around that. Unfortunately, you just kind of have to make do with what you can. I'm trying to pretend like that's not super hot on my finger. It doesn't matter if you're a little sloppy with the glue at this point, just because of the fact that all this is going to be covered up. And you can use super glue or something else. The reason I like to use the hot glue is because you're typically, not going to be gluing anything that is a smooth surface, and having that hot glue really helps it stick in areas where it's rough or couldn't otherwise bond well. We're going to put these guys down. That gray one didn't get glued down good, so we're going to probably pull him out and try to get underneath. Yes. So let's pull that guy out here. All these little glue strings, don't sweat it, because all that is stuff that you can clear up later on, and it's going to be okay. Hopefully that glue is still warm enough. Not quite. So here's a good tip. So if your glue gets cold and doesn't stick, just pull it off. It's fine. It's going to be okay. The hotter the glue is when you put the rocks down, the better it's going to stick to it. When you're using these rocks, even though they're somewhat rough, the surfaces aren't completely roughed up, and sometimes it's hard for the glue to really get any purchase on them. But it's okay. Just keep at it. You'll get them to stick. We're going to use some other materials around this as well too. That's going to help hide, some of the glue spots or imperfections and things. So it's going to be fine. And what we want this to look like is just whether it's the forest floor or a shore or something. You just want it to look natural, right? And a pine cone with a beetle on it just sitting by itself doesn't look all that natural. But once you put some other rocks and vegetation around it, then it starts to look like, you could be viewing it. And that's really the goal. When you've got the dome on top, what you want it to look like is that, you're looking through the dome into just nature, right? You want it to look like it's a little piece of the rainforest. Pine cones and stones might not be abundant in the rainforest, I'm not sure, but you want it to look like it's just part of nature that this beetle is out in. And typically you're going to see that you'll have one side that'll be your front side, and just plan accordingly, because as you go through, like for me, the other side, this is kind of the back side that I'm coming around to now, or what I imagine is going to be the back side when I'm done. But you'll sort of get an idea of how you want it to be, and what you want to be the front, what you want to be the back, and that's going to help how we pose the beetle later on, which is the most important, the most critical part to making it look good is having a good natural pose on the actual beetle itself, so that it looks like it's crawling along and not just stuck on the pine cone. I'm going to work on adding some moss. I did some cleanup, and there'll be some more that'll need to be done before it's completely finished. We're good on that for now. So I think we're going to start looking at where some moss needs to be. Now I've got a few different kinds. It really, with the moss, you just kind of want to put it where it makes sense, where it looks right. Ultimately, the goal is, of course, to make it look like it's just, that you're just looking into nature, right? So I think what I'm going to do here, I think I'm going to take and spread it out over this part. Now I get pretty close to the edge here. You can see where eventually that needs to go. So maybe that stays, and maybe we come over this part, come down into here, maybe down into this part here. Let's just take a look and see. All this moss is also great for adding into, some of the areas where you can still see the glue gonna stuff this down in here real quick. See what that looks like. Let's use a combination of that and this. What do we think about that? What do we think about that? I'm going to tear this in half, and I've got plenty of this moss too, so if I shred it down to, you know, an unusable size, that's okay. We can use a different piece if need be. Yeah, I like that. What I don't like though is you see how all the kind of dirty area here, and I don't really want to just cover that up with that different moss. I think that might look weird. Let's see. Oh, actually it looks fine. Maybe something like that. Glue. Now this stuff glues pretty easily, all the moss. There's, you know, it's real open. So as long as you get it in place, it'll usually stick pretty good. I want this to be kind of coming over top of these rocks here. I'm going to cover this part next. See what we can do here. And so it's not the original piece that I had there, but size-wise, I think this will work well. I think I'm going to come over top as well and just kind of cover this area and make it look like this. Look like this pine cone has been sort of just sitting out in nature for a long time. I'm happy with that. I think that looks really nice. That's going to give us a good base. The other little areas around here, you know, like the little parts of moss like this, work great for that. That looks really good. That's what we want. So let's see how much clearance we're working with. So I've got the dome here. I'm sure it's going to be covered with fingerprints. Like I said, this one is a little snug. Oh yeah. Oh, that looks great. All right, so now it's time for the Beetle. Yeah, this guy looks awesome. Check that out. So cool. So now you can see, versus as stiff as it was earlier, now I can actually move his little mandibles, move his body, most importantly, move all of his legs. The way that we kind of position this guy, usually what I do is first I'm going to find the area that I want him to be sitting in, the pose that I'm looking for. And once I get that done, then I'm going to glue his body. And I'll be able to pin him into his legs. So I'm thinking just like that. I'm thinking we put him just like that. Maybe it's a little hard to see with the dark background, or maybe we should put him more. Yeah, actually that's going to do it like that, because we really want to show off how cool that guy looks. Look at that. So cool. Make sure we've got legs out of the way. We do. Hopefully that's not cooled down too much just yet. Another thing you can do too is come underneath them to fill up a gap. Now that is not always great, because a lot of times you're going to end up being able to see that glue, which we don't want, right? So I'm probably more than likely going to end up extending the moss under his body a little bit, just to hide that glue. Moss works great for hiding glue because you can kind of smush it into places, and you don't have to worry about it. There we go. Yeah, that looks good. Spread those. Alright, so I've got another leg here. It's his middle leg. And we're stuck on a little bit of moss. See if I can't get in there with the there we go. Get in there with the tweezers and free that up. So that's actually sitting really well. Alright, so I got that leg out. And we're going to hold this leg down. Don't want to break the pine cone. I want to get underneath that little part so I can find something to stick it to. There we go. All right, that is all four of the back legs. Front legs and antennas or anything else that you've got going on tends to be a bit more important. Those are the places where people are typically going to focus. So you can see all that glue there doesn't look very good. But if we come underneath and put this there, that's going to look fine. I'm actually going to tear off what's not under my finger there. So we've got these big long arms here. I really want these down. Now I don't think that the mandibles are going to close. But we want to just kind of force them in the open position just in case when this dries and in case they try to close up on us. There we go. And that is one pinned beetle. So we're going to leave him be for a little bit. I'm going to get some macro shots real quick, and then we'll come back to him in 48 hours when he is dried back out. All right, so here's a nice macro shot. So you can really see that kind of bronze, goldish tone that this guy has. It's really cool. All right, so now it's 2 days later. We can remove the pins and put them back. So whenever you're removing these, just pull them straight out. Typically, they're not pushed in so hard where you're going to have an issue with getting them out. But what you don't want to do is pull them out and disturb where you have everything set. Because right now the beetle is going to be dry, which means it's going to be fragile again. And you just want to make sure that everything that you pull out, you're pulling out straight. If you start to pull it out and move to the sides, you could disturb it. So, all right, now off camera, I'm going to clean up the dome real quick and clean up any of the rest of the mess that needs to get done. Then we'll get some good macro footage. we go, all done at home inside of the dome there. If you like this video, if you found it to be interesting or helpful, or maybe you just like bugs, give it a like, or if you want to see more like this, subscribe. Typical YouTube stuff. You guys know how it works. So anyway, have a great day. We'll see y'all later.